Now, some of you may see God as a genie who grants wishes. You pray, say the right words to please his ears, and maybe do some good deeds to rack up brownie points, and then expect your so-called wish to be fulfilled. Like God's some kind of vending machine, where you put in your prayers, select the blessing that you want, and poof, it magically comes rolling out. But if it gets stuck, you chuck a tantrum and curse at the machine because it didn't give you what you wanted. A purely transactional type of relationship. So here's the thing. God isn't some divine vending service catering to your convenience. He's way more interested in turning you into an actual decent human being, which, spoiler alert, requires you to not get everything you want. Think about it. If God just handed you everything on a silver platter, you'd turn into the most insufferable rich kid imaginable. You know the type. Zero empathy, maximum smugness, and probably wearing sunglasses indoors. Like, there'd be no reason to develop humility, patience, or literally any positive character trait, because life would just be one long winning streak. This is why God sometimes lets you run headfirst into difficult situations. Not because he's sadistic, but because suffering literally builds character. Think about it. When you've struggled to get by, or battled some heavy depression, and then someone else comes along, sharing those same struggles as you instinctively say, "Yeah man, I feel you. Congrats, you've just unlocked empathy." Compare that to someone who's never experienced real hardship. They're usually about as emotionally aware as a brick. Can't relate, won't relate, don't care. So yeah, think of these trials as a character development course, packaged as a DLC. Painful? Absolutely. Avoidable? Nope. Necessary? Unfortunately, yeah. Tell me, when you hear the word worship, what comes to mind? People bowing to statues, or maybe an influencer demanding attention and donations. When it comes to God, a lot of people lean toward the second image. Like, if he doesn't get enough attention or offerings, he'd get mad and insecure, needing constant validation from his followers. That's the mental image people tend to hold, a narcissistic deity that demands worship. Now, some of you might be thinking, yeah, that sounds about right. Well, actually no, not really. It's God we're talking about here. The man's already maxed out every stat. Intelligence, 99. Power, 99. Goodness, 99. What more could he want? He literally left his throne to come down to our level, just to help us improve our own stats. So really, the last thing God would ever need is validation from anyone. With all that said, what's the point of worship then? Why does God want worship from us? Think of worship less like God needing compliments, and more like you needing recalibration. Believers don't see God as insecure or fishing for praise. Because here's the deal. If God really is the biggest, realest, and the most meaningful thing in existence, then focusing on him is like adjusting your internal compass toward truth itself, instead of whatever junk society has been feeding you. It's kind of like how life slowly trains you to obsess over money, status, followers, or approval, and you wonder why you're so anxious and empty all the time. Worship is like hitting the pause button and asking, wait, what actually matters? What's real? What should I build my life around? From that angle, God telling people to worship him isn't narcissism. It's more like someone yelling, "Stop drinking salt water! This won't satisfy you. Here's some real water."
Hey, that's pretty good.
If God didn't point us towards himself, he'd actually be kind of a jerk, because nothing else can handle the weight we're putting on it. Your job can't save you, your relationship can't complete you, and your bank account definitely can't fill the void. So worship isn't about boosting God's ego. It's about pointing your desires towards something that won't collapse under pressure and leave you devastated at 3 a.m. Let's be honest. Sometimes it feels like you're being forced to pick a team. Science people over here, faith people over there, and no fence sitters. But here's the real question. Does choosing faith actually mean switching off your brain? Short answer, no. Saying science and God can't coexist is like knowing exactly how a movie was filmed, but never asking what the story means. Both kinds of understanding matter, but they answer different questions. Science explains the how, God addresses the why. And without both, you're left with an incomplete picture. So they actually go hand in hand and not against each other. There's a stereotype that religious people believe blindly because they never question their faith critically. But history says otherwise. Some of the sharpest minds who we still quote today, like Aquinas, Newton, and even modern philosophers, were deeply religious, not because they avoided hard questions, but because they chased them relentlessly. In other words, faith wasn't the easy way out, it was their conclusion. One of the most common misconceptions of God is that he's seen as an old angry judge, just waiting for us to mess up so he can punish us. Sounds kind of uptight, doesn't he? I mean, yeah, on the surface, he kind of does. But honestly, dig a little deeper and you'll find he's actually not that bad. Don't believe me? Picture this. A guy blows his entire family's inheritance on wild parties and hookers. We're talking full financial self-destruction. He ends up so broke, he's literally feeding pigs for spare change. And just when you thought he couldn't stoop any lower, he was so starved that even pig food started to look appetizing. Da 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 da. Out of pure desperation, he comes crawling home, fully expecting to get disowned or at minimum, cop a brutal lecture, only for his father to throw him a party. Wait, what? That sounds a bit too good to be true. So you're telling me the father just forgets his son's train wreck of a mess and throws a party for him? Well, yeah. Instead of slamming the door on him, the father runs out, hugs him, and plans a celebration. No lecture, no I told you so, just pure joy that his kid came home. That's actually Jesus in a nutshell. Someone who cares way more about you coming back than punishing you for your mistakes. A lot of people imagine God as distant and neglectful. There's even a term for it called deism. It's the idea that God wound up the universe like a clock, set it on a shelf, and then walked away. Like, the guy just presses the play button on our lives and casually goes off to watch Netflix instead. No involvement, no concern, no flips given. But this is far from the truth. I know it can be frustrating when you cry out to someone and all you ever hear is... It's like screaming into the void, hoping you'd get any response at all. But the thing is, his silence doesn't mean he's abandoned you. It's just God's way of creating space for you to grow, make mistakes, and learn to rely on him. Think of a parent quietly watching their child work through a puzzle. They're quiet, not because they don't care, but because they do. They're letting their child think, struggle, and develop. If the parent jumps in too fast and spoon feeds every move, the kid never learns to figure things out on their own. Because guess what happens when the training wheels come off? Growth is messy, uncomfortable, and often feels lonely. But God's silence isn't absence, it's trust. He's not on the couch binging Netflix. He's right there, watching, waiting, letting you become the person you're meant to be. And the moment you ask for help, he's all in. Hey, before you go, just a friendly reminder to pay for this show. We accept payments in likes and comments. But if you really like what you saw, hit that subscribe button because doggy treats aren't free. And Benny over here deserves a feed.